Hey Roxanne and Tony. This video is going to go through some basically charts and numbers on how Poplar Grove stands against the rest of the West Ashley outside of 526 area as compared to Charleston as a whole. Now, the West Ashley outside of 526, that's just basically an MLS definition of if you went from drew on the map from 526 on west out past Bees Ferry, basically to Poplar Grove. That's about the limit of where that area goes. So that gives you an idea of how, again, Poplar Grove as a neighborhood is comparing to the surrounding areas within West Ashley, and then for our Charleston just as a whole, and that's the entirety of Charleston, Charleston, Berkeley, Calhoun, Dorchester County. So basically, whenever we're looking at these numbers, something to keep in mind is that the blue lines we're going to see, like here, that is for the entire MLS, all properties in Charleston. The green line is for that West Ashley outside of 526 area, and the red line is going to be for Poplar Grove. So whenever we're looking at the blue, that blue line is averaging together thousands of sales per month, anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 sales per month. The green line, West Ashley, outside of 526, is generally between 150 to 300 sales per month, but Poplar Grove is looking at between 5 to maybe 12 or 15 sales per month. So just numbers wise, that's going to cause the Poplar Grove chart to jump a lot more up and down, just because obviously if one month there was only 6 homes that sold and 2 of them were high-end homes, that's going to jack the chart high up. And maybe if another month there was only a few sales and most of them were condos or townhomes, I should say, then that's going to bring the numbers down. So anyway, something to keep in mind as we go through this. So I'm going to basically go through a chart, pause the video, get another screen of information prepared, and go through that. It'll probably be about a 10-minute video plus or minus when I'm done. So this chart here is looking at the average sales prices since 2018. And so what we'll see is that Charleston as a whole, average sale price around the mid to upper 300s. West Ashley, a slightly lower price point than that, but their trend has been pretty similar. They kind of followed the same ebb and flow since 2018 for the past 18 months. But Poplar Grove does show a distinct increase in prices over the past, I'd say at least 10, not quite 12, I would guess about 12 months. Poplar Grove shows a distinct increase in prices. So again, keep in mind that this might be just 5 homes that sold this month and a couple of them were higher end homes. Maybe this month they were mostly townhomes. So there is going to be some peaks in the data, but basically what we're seeing is that over the course of early 2018, Poplar Grove was averaging mid 400s, whereas now they're averaging at least mid 500s up into the 600s. Now we're going to go on to the next chart here. This chart is the average percent of the original price. So essentially, if somebody listed a home for $100,000, and if we're looking at a West Ashley home, that person could expect to sell that home for around $97,000, because what we're seeing here is that on average, homes in West Ashley sell for around 97% of the original asking price. What this shows is that West Ashley does on average better than the entirety of Charleston. On average, Charleston is more like 95 to 96% of the original asking price. So that's just basically a strength indicator of once a home is put on the market, how likely is that seller going to get their full asking price. Now, Poplar Grove is an interesting one to watch. The peaks and valleys make it a little bit hard to kind of really read the data. But if you think about it, if we took a line and drew a line straight from this point here to this point up here and just kind of looked, it's a downhill trend, but still what it shows us is a line that is well above the averages of West Ashley and of Charleston, that basically in early 2018 homeowners could expect to get more than asking price for Poplar Grove, and that only started to drop below 100% in 2019, which is a good indicator for you guys, for anybody shopping in Poplar Grove, that essentially their market has really gotten more realistic as far as somebody lists a property and they're going to have to be willing to negotiate a little bit on that price in order to get it sold. And that really is going to tie well into the days on market that you're going to see in a little bit here. And here we are with the average days on market. So essentially, how long does a property need to sit on the market before it should expect to get sold. That's of course assuming that it's priced correctly. All this data is on sold homes. So essentially, these are only going to be homes that were priced within reason and the seller was willing to negotiate within reason on the price of their home. But what we see is that again, West Ashley performs better as far as less days on market on average than Charleston as a whole. West Ashley around mid 30s to 40 days on market to get a home sold, a slight increase here over the prior 10 to 12 month period. The entire MLS usually stays above 50 days, 50 to 60 days on market. Again, that slight increase from about 12 months ago to today. Poplar Grove, on the other hand, being a higher end, basically more expensive home, and also a little more rural. I would not call Poplar Grove a rural neighborhood, but it's definitely further out from downtown and from all other forms of amenities than most of our neighborhoods are. Those two factors always tend to increase the average days on market, higher price point and basically further out. So it looks like sellers of properties in Poplar Grove, they generally have to expect to be on the market for, sometimes pushing 6 months, it looks like, where they were averaging 180 days on market. That's very interesting that they've had such a peak around the late 2018, early 2019 timeframe, but that has drastically come back down. Just an interesting trend to see. Nonetheless, they stay on average, if we just kind of looked at the overall chart here, on average over 100 days on market. So owners of homes in Poplar Grove, when it comes time to sell, their listing agents should be warning them, expect to be on the market for 3 months plus or minus before we actually get the home sold. Now here, the last chart we're looking at is the average showings to pending. So what that means is from the time a property is put on the market, how many showings does that home get scheduled for before it moves from the active state to the pending state, basically meaning it has a contract on it. How many showings does it take to get a property under contract? Generically, we generally tell people 15 to 20 days because, as you can see, in West Ashley as a whole and Charleston as a whole, this range of 15 to 20 showings before a property gets under contract pretty much answers it. Tells you where the market generally stands. However, it's interesting that Poplar Grove has far fewer showings before their properties get under contract. What that tells me is that, and also seeing the price graph for Poplar Grove being a upward trending price graph, and that the average showings to pending being lower on average, is basically it's a neighborhood that the buyers know they want to live in that neighborhood, and they don't really shop other neighborhoods. Somebody's looking at Poplar Grove, they just look at a couple homes in that neighborhood before making an offer to buy that home. It's generally what I see by trying to mentally combine all that data together to see what it is that's telling us. So the trend charts for Poplar Grove are strong in that it doesn't take many showings for a property to get sold. However, it does take a long time to get a property sold because you just have far fewer buyers looking in that area. Now, that in the increased average days on market that we're seeing, to me, that ties into the sales price. Some of the sales prices have been going up in that neighborhood, but now the average percent of sales prices they've been receiving has been going down. So that means you're getting to a point to where we can start to get some wiggle room negotiating with Poplar Grove. Whenever Amy or I are talking to the agent on the other side to say, look, we see that those prices have been going up and up and up. We see that the average percentage of the original sales price has been going down, as well as the average days on market stays pretty high. All that says that it's going to be a little bit of a slower market to sell in Poplar Grove, even though their numbers are strong. We know that. But from a negotiating standpoint, we will just push the fact that, hey, your seller is going to be sitting on this property for a period of time. So let's go ahead and negotiate and get a sale underway. So again, it kind of a lot of up and down across these charts. Poplar Grove is just a unique neighborhood compared to many others, again, because of the higher sales price, because of the higher end homes that are out there, and being more rural, so we have less data to go off of. But I hope this gives you at least some kind of impression of how the market for Poplar Grove looks. Again, I see it as a strong neighborhood, but just don't expect to flip a home and sell it quickly there. But the value seems to be there. Especially now that the percent of the original asking price is coming down below 100%, meaning we should have a little bit of wiggle room on these asking prices. So again, do let me know if you guys had any other questions, or if that spoke to what you guys wanted to see about Poplar Grove.